Hey Rayleigh, and anybody else watching, and welcome back to another message from your father. So today, Joshua 20 and 21. Now, if you remember, we've been looking at land allotments, and we'll look at some more of that today, specifically some of the cities. Manasseh's allotment, Benjamin, Naphtali, Dan's allotment, Zebulun, Simeon, Issachar, Asher, and then finally Joshua, his allotment as well. So today, we're going to be looking at specifically the cities of refuge, and then finally we're going to look at some of the towns for the Levites. And then we'll talk very, very briefly, and we've mentioned the cities of refuge before, so we'll keep that very brief. But all of this, Joshua 20 and 21. So we'll start with chapter 20. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Tell the Israelites to designate the cities of refuge as I instructed you through Moses, so that anyone who kills a person accidentally and unintentionally may flee there and find protection from the avenger of blood. When he flees to one of these cities, he is to stand in the entrance of the city gate and state his case before the elders of that city. Then they are to admit him into their city and give him a place to live with them. If the avenger of blood pursues him, they must not surrender the one accused, because he killed his neighbor unintentionally and without malice aforethought. He is to stay in that city until he has stood trial before the assembly, and until the death of the high priest, who is serving at that time. Then he may go back to his own home in the town to which he fled, or from which he fled. So they set apart Kadesh in Galilee in the hill country of Naphtali, Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim, and Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah. On the east side of the Jordan of Jericho, they designated Bezer in the desert on the plateau in the tribe of Reuben, Ramoth in Gilead in the tribe of Gad, and Golan in Bashan in the tribe of Manasseh. Any of the Israelites or any alien living among them who killed someone accidentally could flee to these designated cities and not be killed by the avenger of blood prior to standing trial before the assembly. Chapter 21. Now, the family heads of the Levites approached Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the other tribal families of Israel at Shiloh in Canaan, and said to them, "The Lord commanded through Moses that you give us towns to live in, with pasture lands for our livestock." So, as the Lord had commanded, the Israelites gave the Levites the following towns and pasture lands out of their own inheritance. The first lot came out for the Kohathites, clan by clan. The Levites, who were the descendants of Aaron the priest, were allotted 13 towns from the tribes of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin. The rest of Kohath's descendants were allotted 10 towns from the clans of the tribes of Ephraim, Dan, and half of Manasseh. The descendants of Gershon were allotted 13 towns from the clans of the tribes of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and the half-tribe of Manasseh in Bashan. The descendants of Merari, clan by clan, received 12 towns from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. So the Israelites allotted to the Levites these towns and their pasture lands, as the Lord had commanded through Moses. From the tribes of Judah and Simeon, they allotted the following towns by name. These towns were assigned to the descendants of Aaron, who were from the Kohathite clans of the Levites, because the first lot fell to them. They gave them Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, with its surrounding pasture land in the hill country of Judah. Arba was the forefather of Anak, but the fields and villages around the city they had given to Caleb son of Jephunneh as his possession. So to the descendants of Aaron the priest they gave Hebron, a city of refuge from one accused of murder, Libnah, Jatir, Eshtemoa, Helon, Debir, Ain, Jutah, and Beth Shemesh, together with their pasture lands, 9 towns from these 2 tribes. And from the tribe of Benjamin they gave them Gibeon, Geba, Anathoth, and Almon, together with their pasture lands in 4 towns. All the towns for the priests, the descendants of Aaron, were 13, together with their pasture lands. The rest of the Kohathite clans of the Levites were allotted towns from the tribe of Ephraim. In the hill country of Ephraim, they were given Shechem, a city of refuge for one accused of murder, and Gezer, Kimzaim, and Beth-horon, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. Also from the tribe of Dan, they received Etelekeh, Dibethon, Ahijah, and Gath-rimmon, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. From the tribe of Manasseh, they received Tanakh and Gath-rimmon, together with their pasture lands, 2 towns. All these 10 towns and their pasture lands were given to the rest of the Kohathite clans. The Levite clans of the Gershonites were given from the half-tribe of Manasseh, Golan in Bashan, a city of refuge for one accused of murder, and Beth Eshtara, together with their pasture lands, two towns. From the tribe of Issachar, Kishon, Deberath, Jarmuth, and En-Ganim, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. From the tribe of Asher, Mishal, Abdon, Helkath, and Rehob, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. From the tribe of Naphtali, Kadesh in Galilee, a city of refuge for one accused of murder, Hamath Dor, and Kartan, together with their pasture lands, 3 towns. All the towns of the Gershonite clans were 13, together with their pasture lands. The Merarite clans, the rest of the Levites, were given from the tribe of Zebulun, Jokneam, Karta, Dimnah, and Nahalal, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. From the tribe of Reuben, Bezer, Jahaz, Kedemoth, and Mephath, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. From the tribe of Gad, Ramoth in Gilead, a city of refuge for one accused of murder, Mahanaim, Heshbon, and Jezer, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns in all. All the towns allotted to the Merarite clans, who were the rest of the Levites, were 12. The towns of the Levites in the territory held by the Israelites were 48 in all, together with their pasture lands. Each of these towns had pasture lands surrounding it. This was true for all these towns. So the Lord gave Israel all the land he had swore to their forefathers, and they took possession of it and settled there. The Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he has sworn to their forefathers. Not one of their enemies withstood them. The Lord handed all their enemies over to them. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to the house of Israel failed. Every one was fulfilled. So I know we had talked more about all the cities of refuge. We have looked at that for multiple books now and multiple iterations about how God said this was important. So looking at that, though, I can't help but just be stricken with our refuge, which also taps into my prayer for you, really, is that you recognize that Christ is our refuge in everything. And that could be through the small trials that we're going through, that could be through the huge things that we're going through. But it's important to recognize that we run to him. We flee to Christ, that he is the place where we find solace. Because unfortunately, we are guilty. We're guilty of terrible sin. And we are going to mess up in this life. But with Christ, we are safe. We run to Christ and we remain in Christ. Now, I don't remember if it was said here or in one of the other areas, but it says if they leave that city before I think it's the priest has died, or if they leave that city before they should, the avenger of blood can come after them and kill them and be within full legal right to do that. So if they left those cities of refuge, they're not safe. Just as if we leave Christ, we're not living a safe life. We're not living a life covered by his grace. And that's something that's constant, right? Is to remain in Christ. And Jesus talks about that, is remain in me and I'll remain in you. That's not something that we say a prayer one time and then just live however we want. We seek to remain in Christ. So my prayer for you and my hope for you is that you always run to Christ, that you always return to him, come back to him. That's something, again, that we know will mess up, but return to him. It's incredibly important. And I'm speaking from experience here. Unfortunately, too great of experience, but we keep running to him. Anyway, know that I am praying for you. I love you so, so much. For anyone else joining, know that I appreciate you as well. And thank you all for the patience as I am still fighting this sickness. Anyway, love and appreciate you guys. We will see you tomorrow.